All right. Good afternoon. So, since all of y'all have done qual, so I expected people who have not done qual to be here as well. So, my first, all the slides are actually would be an introduction to qualitative, and then we'll go into the what I planned was first 1 hour introduction of qualitative. The second hour is activity. So since all of you all have done qual, so what I'm going to do is something different. What we are going to do is actually looking at, we will do a recap. We will go through all your qual. Since you all tend to forget what you learned the last semester itself, we will go through a recap of qualitative. And then what we are going to do is, okay, thank you for the alert. So what we are going to do is what we couldn't do in classrooms. So since this is a small group, this is excellent. So we can do this. What we didn't do in classroom is actually me giving feedback on your interviewing skills for each. When you all did it in groups, remember, during class, I couldn't give feedback because it was just too much a group. It's fine. So it's too much a group, too big a class, so I couldn't do that. So we can focus on that now in giving feedback, in improving your interviewing skills. All right, and looking at the nuances of interviewing. All right, so what we are going to focus on today is actually, of course, have a basic understanding of qualitative research. This is for those who don't know. Write a research question and be able to conduct a meaningful and focused interview session. Right, so that's what we're going to focus on. So the first half, just look at it as a refresher. So of course we start is what is research. Now immaterial, qualitative or quantitative, you are going to be curious about something. You are going to want to know about something. So of course you have questions that you want answered. So either it's finding out the frequency, confirming something, you want to confirm something, you want to predict, you want to know this or this, you want to know that, or you want to know why is this happening? How is this happening? You want to know that, either one. If there is no question, the problem with current students, and especially you have done this when you did your 105, 106, 107, whichever, you all work the other way around. By right, it should be there is a curiosity, there is an unanswered problem. There is an issue out there. There is something that is not answered in the research. And that is after that is when you structure your research question or your hypothesis. What you all have done is you all structure your hypothesis, your research question, and then you look for a gap in the literature. Then you look for a problem. By right, in your thesis, now if you're, you should have in your thesis, which I doubt you all did it, but you should have in your thesis that you should have looked at what is the problem, what is the gap, and then structure your problem. If you look at master's thesis, or have you all ever looked at a master's thesis or whichever? Have you all tried looking? Where does the research question and hypothesis come? Right at the top or right at the bottom? Introduction is different. Forget about the introduction. Where does, not right at the bottom, do you see it after at the end of chapter 1? That means they explain the problem, they explain what is the issue, then only say we have derived this hypothesis or this research question. They don't put that in front and then they explain everything else. That is how it's supposed to be. All right. So if you're thinking of masters and forward PhD and all that, that is how it should be lah. So you want to have a research that is relevant, and this is what I always tell my students. You don't want to think of a research that is, oh, method wise it is bombastic, I'm using all the as whatever. Okay, if quantitative I'm using some bombastic method, if qualitative I'm using like some bombastic method. It is not about your method. What makes your research impactful? Does it have any meaning? Are you answering any question? Are you solving any problem in the country, in the nation, or anything? Are you giving answers to somebody? You want your research to be relevant, useful, and important. Even in quantitative, you can have just two variables looking at correlation, and it can be impactful. That is what, if later you want to apply for grants, you become a researcher, you want to apply, you want to ask for money, you are working with an industry partner and you're conducting a research for any commercial companies, this, you want it to be impactful. You don't go and tell a commercial company that something that they already know. You want something new. All right. So without a question, research has no focus, drive, or purpose, then no point conducting the research. All right. So what, when it say research, you have to systematically do it and you must have evidence. That is the data that you collect. And the data that you collect, if you must collect it correctly, like interviewing correctly, collect it correctly. If you don't collect it correctly, then the evidence doesn't mean anything. It's like when you do a police investigation, right? If you don't collect your evidence properly, that evidence cannot be used, right? How many crime movies have you watched? The evidence cannot be used, right? If you don't collect your evidence properly. Same with research. So it has to be, as you all already know, qualitative research is unique. You want to produce findings that you want to know the answer to the question, and you don't already know the answer to it. So you do not predict. Rule number 1, if you have forgotten, you do not predict. It is especially effective if you want to obtain specific information about value, behavior, opinion, experience, feelings, meanings. You want to know the why question, you want to know the how question. All right. It's like this. In case if you have forgotten, just to recap. If you want to select a partner to get married to, what would you do? What kind of questions? Give a questionnaire and say, fill this up. Highest score, we get married tomorrow. Is that what you're going to do? Okay, if you have a pool of guys or girls or whichever partner, highest score becomes my partner. We get married tomorrow. No, right? You take time to get to know the person. And what is getting to know the person? You are finding out qualitatively about the person. You're asking why, how, what. You're asking all the questions and trying to understand the person's values, behaviors, opinions, experience, and feeling. So think of qualitative research as dating. That is what qualitative research is. All right? Dating someone. So again, just a recap. You would have seen this already in my previous slides. Quantitative research, you begin by suggesting the factors influencing or your beliefs as to why students drop out from school. So if you have something, why in my past relationships all did not work out? So you have a list of things of what you did or they did or whatever it is. And then you take, okay, this guy, this happened, this girl, this happened, whatever happened, then you see this is a pattern that's always happening with me. That is why my previous relationships are not working out. That's positivism. All right. That is, you are predicting this and you are finding out this is the frequency of it happening. All right. That's what this slide is explaining. Qualitative, as you all know, phenomenology. This phenomenology is not an approach. This phenomenology is a particular phenomena. All right, a particular situation, a particular event, a particular phenomena. So here you don't propose any factors, you don't propose anything, you just want to understand why is this not working out for me. So for example, you have tried many forms of dating apps. Okay, you have tried many forms of dating apps and it's just not working out for you. So what would you do? Stop using dating apps. Then how to meet people? In this era, the only way to meet people is dating apps, apparently. How else do you, how do you do? Dating apps not working. So you change the whole methodology. Okay. Say we are sticking to the methodology. What do? You question why, right? Yes. You look at your profile picture, you rewrite your bio, right? The filtering, whatever it is, you change that filtering and all that. You do all that stuff, right? So you start questioning the why, the how, and all that stuff, correct? So phenomenology is looking at, you are not without any backstory, without any and when you're getting to know somebody, the next person. So all this time you had a particular pattern lah. This is the type of guy or girl or whatever partner that I choose. So now I change with an open mind. Different type of guy or different type of girl. No baggage from the past. I just want to understand this person, this new type of person, and get to know this new type of person. So that's qualitative phenomenology. Without a baggage, without no predictions, with nothing, you want to understand that person. All right. So you all know this. So I decided to put everything in one slide so that we can go through this quickly. So the purpose of qualitative research is to understand the experience, meaning, and perspective. Here, quantitative, you're measuring variable and you're testing hypothesis. You want, here is research question. You do not have, do you have hypothesis in qualitative research? Which one? Good. So you do not have hypothesis in qualitative research. Since you all have already done qual, I can say this safely. If not, I won't say this. I won't say that hypothesis is in, if it's a new group of people, I won't say this. I'll say in qualitative research, there is no hypothesis. You can add one more here, hypothesis generation. That means we can generate a hypothesis here. If you really go in depth with grounded theory, you generate a hypothesis. Here, you confirm that hypothesis, as you will see below here. You can do that. All right. So data type, word narratives, here number, statistics, sample size, small and purposeful. What's purposeful? Yeah. Come again. So what about the sample that I choose? The criteria must meet the whatever study that I'm doing. So your research question and your criteria of your sample must meet. So later, when we break into a group and I ask you to think of a research question, don't think of some random research question which doesn't fit your current sample criteria. You have to think of a research question that fits the sample. Doesn't make sense if you think about you are interviewing about marriage life and the people here are definitely not married. Right? So don't do that later. Okay, make it real so that we can get great feedback. So you are wanting to get natural thick description. So again, my question, since you all have all done qual, how do you get natural thick description? Come again? Probing, yes. What else? No leading question. All right. You want it natural. You don't want leading questions. So you have probing questions that you ask. You don't ask leading questions. You don't interrupt. You don't judge. You don't do all these things if you want a natural thick description. Of course, for quantitative, you're identifying patterns, relationships, or differences. Methods, interviews, focus group, observation, and document. All right. Surveys, experiments, and questionnaire. How many of all of you took quali with me? Is it? How many of you did not take with me? So can you follow right now what I'm saying? Are you able to follow? Just a question. Who you did quali with? Huh? Currently, you're doing with her. So during your data collection of interview, did you all do a example in class? Did you all carry out an activity in class? Or you did not attend that day? Did you carry an activity in class? Well, how was the feedback given? Could she give feedback? So but you carried out the activity in class. Okay. Because I'm thinking for the rest of you who have done with me, if you've already done interview, we can do focus group today. So for those who have done with me, you can try focus group today. Right? Okay. So okay, so survey experiments, then data analysis. You're doing thematic analysis here, SPSS, outcome. You want rich, again, you want thick, rich, detailed insights. You cannot generalize the results. Okay, why you cannot generalize the results? Because you are not doing a causation, correct? You are looking at understanding experiences, meaning, and perspective. So it cannot generalize. So if uh, someone thought that this class, this current workshop is boring, say person say she thought this workshop is boring, doesn't mean that everybody else will think that this workshop is boring. Everybody else will have a different kind of opinion on the same situation. All right. A very good example, COVID. How did we all experience COVID? Everybody experienced COVID differently. But a question to the all of you all. So if quali research is only looking at a specific experience, why is quali research so important? Why do we need to have quali research? It's only looking at one person's story. What? Why is quali research important? We can't generalize it. And what does representation mean? So, but okay, if it's not those specific groups that we learn in class, yuck. If it's not that specific group like marginalized or what, if it's not that specific group, then what? How can, okay, I'm good, I'm good. How, what's the point of a quali research? Okay, let's take, I'll give a scenario. Let's take COVID, for example. All of us experience COVID differently. But is there a generalizable that we generalization that we can do of the experience? What is the generalization? Come again? Not really. What? Daily lives change. Me now, from then to now, from then to now. Okay, so COVID, we all experience it differently. We all were in lockdown. We all had experienced fear. We all experienced everything. Now, what do you think the outcome of COVID has been now? COVID has had an impact. Every pandemic will have an impact on the population, the global population after whichever pandemic. So COVID was a pandemic and it has an impact. What do you think the impact is after COVID? Come again? There was during, but do you think we practice social distancing now? We don't. What else? Huh? Okay, let's hybrid working. So what has that, what is, how did this come about? What is it about hybrid working? It's acceptable now. And why did this come about? Don't say COVID, don't say hybrid. What happened? This is where qualitative. What happened that now we are okay with hybrid? Okay. So what they found out was in many factors, you can still function. That is why now government has come out with a new rule that you can, after 15th, you can, certain people work from home with all these rules. This is from where? We wouldn't have thought of this like before. This is because of COVID that we actually thought of this. But moods, like people's body itself, after COVID, we have become, because we were at home for such a long period, our body itself has become lethargic. We are tired. If we go out like those days, I mean, I used to go out every day to work and go from morning till evening, go back in the night, and then night can go out again. So like had all the energy. But right now, after COVID, the energy is like totally different. You are tired after you're driving back and after with the work and everything is just tired. So and this is a common thing that I see with everyone. So it's because of that pandemic. What about communication? I was talking to my supervisor the other day. See, in the sense of communication itself, we all have become totally not communicative. We don't communicate as much because of COVID. So it has so much of impact from there, right? The impact of something. So qualitative research, though not generalizable, when you study a particular phenomena, you can use that to understand that particular phenomena, like she said, representative of that particular phenomena. So you're looking at a specific, I take a group of 5 people and I say, okay, how has COVID impacted undergraduate students after COVID? You take 5 or 7 of students and understand what has happened. You take a group of working people, understand what has happened. Everybody does this everywhere. You see a pattern. You will see this is a common thing that's happening with everybody. So it becomes representative, right? So that is important, and that is why quali is impactful. Of course, interview focus with immediate analysis, outcome, detail, researcher's role. You are the instrument. Researcher is the instrument. You are attached to your study. You are involved in your study. In qualitative, you don't even know your sample. Design, flexible, dynamic, go with the flow, evolving. I'm sure you all understand this. Can I ask, do you understand what does this mean? Why is a qualitative research flexible? Okay, anybody else? Why is qualitative research flexible? So once it is like in quanti, you've given a survey, a questionnaire that is fixed, that is done. But in a quali, you have interview questions. You go and interview a sample. I come and interview her. I go back. I look at my data. I feel that, okay, I didn't ask this or I didn't do this. Then I can go back and ask her again, probe again. I can do that with quali. So that is why quali is dynamic, flexible, and goes with the flow. Evolving. I thought evolving was a nicer word. So example of question. So we are there. Now, philosophy in class, I've covered many, so I wanted to keep it simple here. The ontology is that you have multiple realities and subjective, like what I just explained. COVID was experienced differently. So there is a multiple perspective and it's a subjective experience. Some people liked MCO. Some people like the fact that to stay at home and not go out anywhere and not communicate with anybody. Looks shocking, right? So, but some people enjoyed it. Some people liked it, being at home, not going out and not communicating with people. When you feel like, how is that possible? Everybody hated it. But there were people who enjoyed it. So multiple perspectives. How do you know this? So you are interviewing the sample, you are asking the sample, you are probing the sample, you have the knowledge of previous research or whatever it is. So hence, based on that, you are creating your themes. So co-created. All right. Role of value, researcher is part of, so here researcher is co-creating. So researcher's values. We have discussed this in great deal in class, but here what I mean is, so if the researcher feels, researcher has experienced it themselves, the researcher's values can come into the research, or if the researcher chooses to not bring in their values and put their values aside. This is what we call bracketing, putting their values aside. Whichever it is, still the same thing, whether the researcher wants to be part of the research in the sense of contributing in the data wise. So the methodology is whatever methodology you use, it's flexible, you're interpreting and you are exploring and trying to understand the meaning. All right. So you all should be able to answer this. A, quali or quanti? Why? Yeah. Okay. B. Okay, good. C. Why quanti? Very good. D. Okay, very good. So these are your types of qualitative research. When you Google, right, qualitative research, sometimes, most of the time, all the papers you see, they will not mention this. They will not mention whether it is a basic phenomenology, narrative, case study, grounded theory, or whatever. Sometimes they will just do a qualitative research. It is just a qualitative research without mentioning anything. So in most of that times, we are taking the assumption basic qual. That's why Sharon Mariam came out with the term basic qual. Sharon Mariam is the one who coined this term. So mostly when you look at journal articles, some journal articles will say if they are specifically doing it, but mostly they will not mention any methodology. They will just, it's a qualitative study. So we have chosen to do a qualitative study. That's it. All right. So when it comes to qual, a whole list of ethics, but something I wanted to keep in emphasize is the participant's voice matters. So you have to make sure that during your interview, during your data analysis, you do not omit anything that the participant is saying. Okay, let's try this. YC, how was your weekend? Not enough sleep and working on assignments. What assignments you had to work on? Okay. So why did it cause you to not have enough sleep? Okay. So how was your day like? Okay. So if I'm interviewing, I am not, if you notice, my questions were not in any way leading, not in any way telling her how her day was. I didn't go like, oh, it was a bad day for you, or it's terrible, right? A whole day if you have to work. I mean, that is putting words and that is leading the sample. That is not fair to the participant, because the participant, like I will say this, I always tell this to friends, or when I'm giving advice to people, I will say, don't think for them. When we are always very quick to assume this is what the other person is thinking. In a normal situation as well, we'll always assume, oh, the person is thinking of me this way. The person is looking at me at this. The person is bored in class. The person is this. The person is that. I don't know what is going on in your brain. That is an approach of a qualitative researcher. I don't know what is going on in your brain. Don't think for them and don't assume. Don't think for them. Ask. Have the evidence and find out. If they open their mouth and they say, this is what it is, then you believe it. If not, don't listen. So don't interrupt, don't judge, don't influence. Even during your thematic analysis, for those of y'all, have you submitted your thesis or your thesis block? Your project already? Not yet. When you're doing your thematic analysis, make sure that you do not get sidetracked. That means it's very easy, because you have read literature, one side of the data, then your influence, another side of the data. Then the sample is saying this, we misinterpret to say that, okay, this could be this. So if I was busy during the weekend, okay, I was busy during the weekend as well, and I also didn't have enough sleep, because I experienced the same thing. I can say that maybe I was busy because, yes, I was working throughout the day. Night, I went to party. So I can assume that she did the same thing as well, right? So I will say, okay, busy working and everything, but with life events happening, I conclude that in my team. With life events happening. The life events, maybe for her, it's not true. She did not go partying, she not doing anything. Maybe she was just only doing her assignment from morning to night. Just because I did that, I put my team as, assume that as life events. You thought for her. No. All right. So the theme must be exactly what the sample says. That is an ethical issue. It's an analysis issue and an ethical issue as well. All right. So of course, consent, confidentiality, respect, right to withdraw, all these matters. I only listed this because we want to do a activity later. So you want to keep in mind to ask for consent. Make sure you tell them it will be confidential. Respect when you are interviewing and tell them they can stop at any point in time. All right. So you want to keep this in mind when you are getting a verbal consent later. So first, writing a research question. What exactly you want to know? What specifically you want to know? Identify the sample and the setting. In what situation, in what context do you want to understand? So be precise, be clear, be focused, it must be researchable, be specific, be relevant, feasible, and ethical. Now, quickly, very quickly, 2 minutes, write a research question. Just write a research question individually, write a research question. And don't copy my research question at the bottom. Huh? Anything. Right, anybody share? I forgot your name. Kir. What's your name? Okay, yes. What's your research question? Isn't this your research question during your assignment for 106? All right, yeah, oh yeah, correct. So, okay, another group did that. Another group did that. Okay, perceived social support on self-esteem. Say it again. Is it specific? Not specific enough. What group are you looking at? Okay, then you make it specific group students. All right. So, is it clear? Do you think it's clear? Why you don't think it's clear? Why you don't think it's clear? Okay, so you want to, right? Fine, but I think yeah, population is not there. I will clear in the sense that she's looking at social support, right? You said social support and self-esteem. For a research question, I think that's okay because she said social support. So I think that is clear. Self-esteem is clear. What's missing is in who and in what context. That's missing. Okay, so is it focused? You are specifically looking at social support and you are specifically looking at self-esteem. Okay, let's turn to my TC supervisee. What was your first research question that you planned? The first one. Do you remember? Hopeless student. Not the current one, the older one. Current one is already refined one. Okay, never mind lah. Forget it. Okay. Anybody else? Shah? Yes. What is the perception of Malaysians towards spirituality and religiosity? All right. What do you all think? Clear? It's clear. Is it focused? It's not focused. Why is it not focused? No. It's not focused because you're looking at spirituality and religious in the same question. Okay, correct. I don't disagree. Like in my PhD, that's the same thing. Like I'm looking at something that is looking like a double thing, like what you said. It ties together. So what I did, research question A will look at spirituality, research question B will look at religiosity, research question C will look at spirituality and research question. So your inter research question will be the number 3 after I look at 1 and 2. You're already halfway through your thesis, right? Okay. So then you want to do like this, like that. You don't want to put all 3 together. Yes, of course. You, please keep in mind that you can have however many research questions, but generally we keep it to 3. 3 research questions. One was because you all were introduced to qual. You must have more than one when you are doing a qual research, because it's not enough. You will break it, so like yours, 1 2 3. It will make life easy for you. If you put all 3 together, it'll be very difficult. You are not being focused. All right. Yeah, you will have more sets of questions, but that is where you get your thick rich description lah. You have more data. You explain about spirituality first, then you talk about religion, how religion perception of religion, then you talk about the difference. How do you actually ask the sample, like, what is the difference between spirituality and religion that you view? If you go straight into that research question, you do not understand the sample's perspective first of spirituality and religion, and then you don't do that. You straight away are going into this, so it becomes a bit of a understanding. When you are presenting it in your writing, it will be very confusing. So break it. So focused. All right. Of course, it must be researchable. Whatever topic that you choose, it must be researchable. What's an example of a topic that's not researchable? Research question that's not researchable. Okay, that is first of all a close-ended research question. No, definitely no. Close-ended research question. It has to be open-ended research question. Second of all, yes, it's not researchable because nobody has died and come back. Good. Okay, researchable. Specific. Okay, it has to be relevant. Again, we come back to the impact. Why are you doing this research? Is it relevant in this time and era? If you are talking about traditional dating, I go back to dating again because I think it's a very current issue that everybody dates via only apps. Those were the days which I have experienced it. Too bad you all have not experienced it. That you go out somewhere and somebody sees you and physically approaches you and say, hi, I want to get to know you. Doesn't happen now, right? Everybody's head is like this only, right? You go to a club. If you go to a club or a restaurant or a bar, somebody looks at you and then comes up to you and says, hello, hi, I want to get to know you and blah, blah, and all that. Doesn't happen now, right? You see it in the movie. Happens to, yes. They get your social. But okay, fine. They come up to you and at least they come up to you and talk to you, so that is still happening. It's not bad. But I don't, as time goes, I don't think anybody will do that anymore. Those was the convention, those days, like before, like in my parents' time, there's no, even that doesn't exist. It's parents matchmake, and you come to the house and see through parents and everything. That was those times. So that is a changing trend. So I used like to use that as an example because that's a changing trend. So the current trend, relevant in the sense that if I talk about, okay, traditional matchmaking in the current era, that's relevant. What's your perspective about traditional matchmaking in the current era? Then it becomes relevant. But if I ask if you have experienced traditional matchmaking, might not be so relevant in this era, right? So you need research that's relevant, doable. Like I had a student who wanted to do on orang aslis, and their undergraduate, all right, pursuing the undergraduate orang asli. My student did that for thesis. It was difficult to get samples. It was difficult, but he managed to do it. But he did it. Undergraduates who are orang aslis, it's tough, all right. And of course, you want it to be ethical. So you want to understand, explore, and experience. So looking at these two, which is a good, is this a good research question? Why is this not good? Come again? Why is this not, there is one major issue here. You already thought and made a conclusion already. Why is social media bad? This is not a research question, all right? You want to understand what is the effect or impact of social media, that's different. You have already made a conclusion, so that is not correct. You want to understand, explore, and you want experiences. How does social media use affect self-esteem among university students? You have given context, you have given specific, what are you looking at? You are focused, this is what you want to understand. So your research question is super important, all right? And two things I need to remind you all. Number one, when you do for your thesis, if you are doing, this is your research question, break it. Your interview questions must be, like you're having a set of 5 or 8 interview questions, has to be for this research question. If you have 3 research questions, another 5 or 8 for the second research question. Don't combine all your interview questions for all 3 research questions. If you're doing 3 research questions, don't combine all. Don't have 20 that is supposed to break it. For research question 1, these are your interview questions. Research question 2, these are your interview questions. Research question 3, these are your interview questions. Second point I need to remind you all. For question generation, interview question generation, the fact that we in class, we actually adapted from a scale, it's not a qualitative method. Please don't do that in your thesis or in any future. I've seen students doing it in their thesis in this semester. That was only for 106 class because you all didn't know anything about qual. But now that you know about qual, you must generate the interview questions on your own, then conduct a pilot study to confirm the interview question, and then proceed with the actual study. All right, don't use the scale method. Excuse me, my battery's dying. Oh, thank you. What is this? Oh my God, I don't drink black coffee. Really? Yes. You don't drink black coffee? No. You want me to not sleep for the next 2 nights, is it? Yes, can somebody take the coffee? It's okay. I don't drink black coffee. Why see? I can't charge my laptop because your mic is blocking the. Okay, so we are clear with research question. Hello. Okay. So interviews, you all already know structured, semi-structured, unstructured. What we are going to do today is semi-structured. Even if you're doing focus group, it'll be semi. You want to be a little more structured if you're doing focus group. All right. So what you want to do is first build rapport, build trust. What you do is smile, small talk, relaxed tone. All right. You don't speak in a manner of harshness. You don't. Small talk is not too much. Okay. How was your day? Was your ride here okay? Enough. You don't have to ask the entire history of boyfriend, girlfriend, father, mother, grandmother. No need to do all that. All right. You want to make sure the participant feels safe to speak honestly. So this is where your verbal consent. Though you have given a written consent before, definitely all studies you will do that. You must ensure confidentiality and no judgment. All right. When I did my interviews, I will repeat it again and again. Sometimes if I feel that the participant, I get a sense that they are feeling not comfortable, you can repeat again in between. No bias, no leading question. Don't agree, don't in disagree, don't. Okay, so that means how? When the participant is talking, you just like blank face, is it? Cannot lah. So you have to like nod your head or whatever. You have to but not your head in the way of listening. Not your head in the way of agreeing. Huh? Active listening, yes. You don't nod your head in the way of agreeing, you nod your head in the way of listening. Don't disagree. If they say something, you can say things like, oh, that sounds difficult. That sounds, you can say things like that, but not like, oh, that must be really bad. No. If they're telling you a bad experience, okay, that sounds painful or whatever. If they're telling you a painful experience, you can show empathy. That's fine. You can show empathy, but don't influence it in any way. Don't go, I experienced the same thing and it was really miserable and sad for me. If you do that, then you are leading the sample in every way. So fully present and attentive. So that is why you must know your interview questions well. If you don't know your interview questions well, you're going to be referring to your interview questions. You can't be present and you can't be attentive to what your sample is saying. Don't interrupt your sample. All right, don't interrupt them. No eye contact. Have eye contact. That means don't. Okay, yes, yes. Don't do that. You are trying to see what's your next question, what's your probing question, and then suddenly, as somehow you use your phone, and then there'll be one message that pops up. Then you'll be reading that message and your mind will go there. Don't use your phone for your to refer to your interview questions. Use a paper. All right. Use a paper. Look down when you are looking. Make sure you know your question. So my trick that I told you all before to ensure that too many questions, how to remember. What my trick is always keep the probing questions general. If you keep the probing questions general, you don't have to memorize so many questions. You only memorize your interview questions. And that is not even memorized. You know what you're asking. Okay, here you're asking this part. This one you're asking this part. You already know you're asking that. So you can. When the ask your question and look at the sample when the sample is talking. All right? Look, eye contact, don't interrupt. You can have empathy, patience, allow silence. If the sample is not answering, don't rush to the next question. All right? You have to ensure non-verbal cues, meaning your posture is open, you are calm, all right? Your posture is open, you are calm. Abang, my thesis supervisors, both my thesis supervisors come. Come here. Set up the table in a way how you'll conduct your interview. Table and chairs, how will you set up? One table enough lah. Okay, this is how you set up. Why do you set up this way? Yeah, so if we remove the table, you all can sit down, thanks. If you remove the table, this is good. This is good, but doesn't it cause, imagine you're sitting with somebody and say if I'm sitting here, yes, openness, psychological openness, you get the psychological openness, but it's too much, right? For somebody who's interviewing me, it's too much, right? I'm not comfortable with this person first time. This is too much. So you can do an angle, all right? Like L shape is always good. So, but sometimes you want to help the sample. This serves as a psychological barrier. So that, okay, there is a barrier, some kind of protection mindset. This doesn't do anything, but it's just a protection mindset. Okay, you still sit this way, same position, but there is a table here. So it gives a psychological for the sample that, okay, there is something, there is a mindset, whatever. So this is the psychological awareness that you want to, non-verbal awareness that you want to create. You want them to feel comfortable talking to you. So your body language has to be important. You cannot, like I have told you all before in class, your body language, you all are psychology students. I do not need to explain this. You cannot go like that. You cannot go like that. You cannot do all that. You need to come forward a little bit in order to show them that you are listening and you understand, but not go too much. So you have to be formal because it's your responsibility to ensure formal, ethical, and all that. It's not the sample's responsibility. Sample can come in shorts and singlet. You need to go dressed up well. All right, but you don't go with a suit and tie lah. If you go with a suit and tie, obviously you're not going to get any answers. All right. So when you are interviewing, you want to keep these four things in mind. Ask, listen. Don't listen in just by physically listening, but you're not actually listening. Listening like physically, okay, like what you all do in class. You all look as though you all are listening, but actually you all are not listening. Mind is elsewhere. Mind is thinking of totally something else. Don't do that. With a sample, you need to actually listen. So listen, pause, wait for a while. All of us are uncomfortable with silence, but you have to have some kind of silence. Wait for a while. Maybe the sample wants to add. Maybe you want to process what the sample said. Maybe you want to add, but not such a long, I said pause, not complete silence. Ask, listen, pause, don't rush, and then probe. Don't, as soon as they talk, don't probe immediately. You want to pause for a while. All right? Don't probe. Don't ask too many questions too quickly. Don't interrupt. Don't give advice. Don't say, oh, good. oh bad, oh that's good, oh that's bad, and don't talk about yourself. Your qualitative interview is not about you, it's about the sample. All right. So interview questions must be open-ended. You do not have is there, did you don't have that. Don't lead the sample in any way. We talked about that already. Don't ask, like I told you, if you have two for your, this is for your thesis, keep in mind. Research question 1, these are the interview questions. Research question 2, these are the interview questions. Don't be everywhere in your interview questions. If your interview question is not relevant to your research question, remove it. Don't ask too many items in one question. In my dictionary, only ask one item in one question. Don't ask, how do you feel about social media? Why? People will only usually answer one. They won't answer both. Right? They'll only answer one. When you ask two questions, people only answer one. They don't answer both. You are not right. They are not writing an essay to answer this, because this. They are verbally talking. Keep it short. Keep your question short. You do long questions. They don't understand what you're asking. All right. You can ask things about thoughts, emotions, physical, social, anything. You can ask. It's fine. But make it specific. If you want to know about thoughts, ask them about thoughts. What are your thoughts about this? If you want to know what are their emotions, ask specifically what are their emotions. Don't ask how do you feel about this and expect answers on thoughts and emotions. Don't do that. If you want to know about thoughts, ask about thoughts. You want to know about emotions, ask about emotions.